All right, so today's topic is temperature, and I want to start with a joke that's made the rounds in Chicago, and it pokes fun at Chicagoans and people that live in the South, and the difference that both of these sets of people have in terms of their temperature tolerance. So, this temperature scale is what we're going to talk about today, and I think you'll recognize it here. We look at this at 60 degrees. Floridians wear coats, gloves, and hats. Chicagoans sunbathe. And the next one's 32 degrees, distilled water freezes. So this temperature scale here that we're looking at in this joke is Fahrenheit, and we'll talk about that in a second. Negative 20 people in Miami cease to exist. Chicagoans finally put on winter coats. And there are other ones in between here, but these are kind of, this is a short version of the joke. Negative 460 degrees, all atomic motion stops. Chicagoans start saying, it's cold out. And the joke ends here. It's at negative 500 degrees. You can say, hell freezes over. Right? The coldest temperature that we think that can exist in the universe is negative 460 degrees Fahrenheit. It's called absolute zero. So anything below that, right, we could say hell freezes over. And here's where you need the drum roll and the punchline sound. Hell freezes over, or the Cubs win the World Series. So there you go. It's from a White Sox fan. It's funny to me. Probably not to you if you're a Cubs fan. But in seriousness, though, this temperature scale is interesting because this is what we use in America. We use Fahrenheit. And again, like we talked about with our metric system, this is not the metric system. We actually are one of the only countries that use Fahrenheit. So converting from Fahrenheit to two other units of temperature measurement is going to be important. So let's take a look at our next slide. We take a look at this slide, and we've got the three thermometers, one showing the American unit of measurement, which is Fahrenheit for temperature. The second one showing Celsius, which is the SI unit or the metric unit. And then Kelvin, also a metric unit of measurement. In chemistry, we actually will use this scale the most, which is the Kelvin scale. But this shows the relationship between all three. You can see the boiling point of water, 212 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Celsius, and in Kelvin, 373 Kelvin. You actually don't use degrees with Kelvin. So you just say it's 373 Kelvin. With Celsius and Fahrenheit, you do use the word degree, not with Kelvin. We can see the freezing point of water, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius, 373.15 degrees Kelvin, and then so on. Now, what's interesting here is the Celsius scale and the Kelvin scale. 1 degree in the Celsius scale is equal to 1 Kelvin. So basically, if the Celsius temperature goes down 100 degrees, the Kelvin temperature goes down 100 Kelvin. But that's not the case in Fahrenheit. 100 degrees Celsius, a drop in 100 degrees, is not a drop of 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It's actually a drop of about 180 degrees. So there is a difference. So let's take a look at how we can go between these temperatures. Next slide is. So the conversion between Kelvin and Celsius is very simple. The temperature in Kelvin is equal to the temperature in Celsius plus 273.15. And of course, you can subtract and get this equation. You could get the temperature in Celsius is equal to the temperature in Kelvin minus 273.15. And so if I said right now in the room it is 50 degrees Celsius, what is that in Kelvin? Well, we can take a look and we can put this number up here into this equation, and we'll see that the temperature Kelvin would be 323.15, right? We're going to say TK is what we're looking for, so it's 50 degrees plus 273.15, which comes out to 323.15 Kelvin. No degree symbol here. Notice Here there's the degree symbol, and Kelvin, no degree symbol. Alright, as we saw in slide 2, the Fahrenheit degree is smaller. If you look at Fahrenheit from 212 to 32 is the same on the Celsius scale as 100 to 0 degrees. So the degrees Fahrenheit are actually smaller than the degrees Celsius. 100 of these equals 180 of these. So when we make a conversion between Fahrenheit and Celsius, we can understand that the degrees are not the same. So what we could say is 1 degree Fahrenheit equals 5/9 degrees Celsius. Okay, so let's keep this in mind. If you can just remember this, you can do any temperature conversion problem between Fahrenheit and Celsius. So in this problem we have 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. I want to know what that is in Celsius. How would you do that? Well, the first thing we would do is we would figure out what is this temperature difference in Fahrenheit. So I can come over here and I see that this is 66.6 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the difference in temperature from 98.6 to 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Why did I choose 32 degrees Fahrenheit? Because that's a known temperature for both of these. That's the temperature at which water freezes, and I can compare them. So any problem where you're using a Fahrenheit to Celsius conversion, you can use this as a reference point because you know the number for both Fahrenheit and Celsius. So if this difference is 66.6 degrees Fahrenheit, we can use this conversion to find out what it would be here. And so I can take 66.6 degrees Fahrenheit and I can multiply it. We're going to do our dimensional analysis by the conversion factor, which is 5 degrees Celsius is 9 degrees Fahrenheit, and the degrees Fahrenheit cancel out, and what I'm left with is 37 degrees Celsius. So that means if I take that up here, this temperature change in Celsius must be 37 degrees. So what is this mystery temperature in Celsius? It is 37 degrees Celsius. And of course, if I wanted to go from Celsius to Kelvin, you can see that I'm going to add 273 to this. So add 273 to that number, and I get 320 Kelvin. Oh, 310 Kelvin. Sorry.